Hey guys, welcome back to Summit Climbing Gyms. I'm here doing a bunch of greens, the occasional red today. Went up to Plano yesterday or the other day, compiled some footage. So here's a bunch of V1s through V3s at Summit Gyms in Dallas, Texas. All right, this first one is up in Plano. This is a nice steep overhang, even though you can't really tell by the footage. My body position is pretty good in this one. That's one of the reasons I like this climb, is because you kind of have to swing your hips back and forth. These holds are kind of directional, so you have to be pulling on them in the right way. And in order to pull on them the right way, obviously, you got to have your hips in the right place. So, nice fun climb. This was my third climb of the day, so I was feeling pretty fresh and strong. It's always nice. Climb 2. This one is pretty interesting. Another one with a lot of directional holds. These are side pulls rather than jugs. And they're pretty positive. You can grab hold of them nice and easy, but you just kind of have to hold them sideways versus up and down. Still pretty straightforward. This third one, this was from a couple weeks ago, but I still have the busted shin from it. It's a nice fun climb. This little cluster presents a lot of options. I'm liking as the climbs are advancing. They're not quite so straightforward, and there start to be a couple ways to do it. But the feet are quite slippery on this one. And I pay the price here in a little bit. The finish is up there to the left. It's kind of hard to get there. There don't seem to be any feet. Yeah, it didn't really look that bad, but it was. This was my very first dyno. I've seen people do this statically if they're real strong, but for someone of my caliber, it's a nice little easy dyno. And I got it. That's my first one. It was a lot of fun. I wasn't going to do it. I usually stay away from dynos because of my shoulders. I'm afraid of doing them for some reason, but a bunch of people were doing it at the gym, and strangers were being encouraging and talked me into it. This is a really fun climb. I like this one a lot because it's got this cool little traverse to start. I like a nice traverse. I wish there were more of them. Then I move on to those volumes, have some nice flat feet there, and then you got to get settled over here and climb it up a bit to finish it off. This big kind of juggy side pull thing, I don't know what to call it. Those are interesting. They present unique puzzles, even though they're pretty easy to grab. If you put them, there's a red on the slab at Forest Dallas right now that been confounding me. All right, speaking of slabs, we've got a nice little slab here. Starts with a fun little mantle on that volume. And then it gets to where you gotta trust your feet and get a little bouncy. Being able to do the cross throughs is a game changer for this versus doing the match shuffle where you keep your hips square to the wall, being able to pass them around. This next one is a red V2 V3, but it was pretty straightforward, and Seymour, a guy that I've been climbing with in Plano, encouraged me to give it a shot. It's tough, but definitely doable if you have the right beta and come at it right. Trust your feet, most importantly. All right, on to another steep overhang. This is just a yellow, but since the overhang was so dramatic, you can see I'm pretty much upside down. Yeah. Since the incline was so dramatic, it's pretty much a roof. I went ahead and included it here. Really good, simple, juggy holds, but you still need a fair amount of core to keep the body sucked into the wall, to keep your feet on those holds. But a lot of fun. This was my last climb of the day. I was exhausted, but trying to finish strong, make sure my back was equally as tired as my hands. Nice big jugs on this white, a V0 by rating. But since I'm so exhausted, I don't quite get there, and it was just the perfect amount of fatigue, I would say, to end the day. So from here, we're going to move on to Plano. Plano is my home gym, or sorry, not Plano. Move on to Dallas. Dallas is my home gym up at Forest in Greenville, also in the Summit family of climbing gyms. This is one of my favorite climbs right here. It's got these slopers that, I guess they're beginner slopers, but slopers nonetheless. You really gotta kind of have that plumb line and pull straight down and make sure that your body weight isn't pulling out, but rather down. And I'm getting better at it. I do this climb every time I go to the gym because I think it's so much fun. I almost wish that they had it going the other direction too, so I could balance it all out. I love this climb. It's got that kind of roofy underhang thing, but then you go into a beginner heel hook right here, which I think is really nice. I do botch it on this route, but this isn't about being perfect. This is about learning from my mistakes. I looked past it. I was moving on to the next move without actually setting my foot, and you can't do that. You got to focus on what you've got and make sure that you stay engaged. Here's another dyno that I can't quite get. Still to this day, I can't get this one. It kind of makes you jump out rather than jump up, and I'm just not quite ready for that yet. This is another red. This was my first red that I ever did. This wasn't my first attempt at it, but I like this climb. It requires some interesting moves, a little bit of strength, but nothing really too crazy, since all those shell-shaped holds are so easy to grab. It was a good climb. Back down to greens. This is a real steep overhang, probably a 45, and it's tough. Nice big strong moves, but good positive holds really fit your hand. Right when your hand gets there, it's exactly what you want. And I like a nice topper finish on an overhang. Never easy to down climb on those though. This is the other wall. They just reset this. This is still down at Dallas. Had some new climbs that I haven't climbed quite as much. So I think this might even be my first ascent on these next few. Nice and vertical, pretty straightforward. Here's a red that I've been trying. I fail at this attempt, I believe. It's got this funny little hip rock over that you have to do. Here, you've got to have your hips all the way to the right. And in order to use that hold, you have to have your hips over to the left. And And I have completed it, not on this time. And what you really have to do is you just got to put your body over there. You just use some momentum and get over there. And then it's just that one little crux in the middle. Back to this green. They've been putting these kind of mantly big holds in the middle that are kind of funny little things you gotta grab onto. I enjoy them. It's a nice little change of pace from all little handholds that are pretty obvious how you're supposed to grab them. This is a little kind of finger strength green. All these holds are pretty small, but they just don't quite fit your hand the way that you want them to. And so you have to do a little bit of work to get through this middle part, and then they start giving you nice jugs again. I'm starting to get pretty tired. I can see that in my climbing. Just the way that I wiggle back and forth off the wall. I don't look as strong. This is always a really tricky climb when I give it a shot. The beta is not really straightforward, and you have to kind of think on two planes. There's this wall over here to the left that has some very necessary moves, at least with the way that I get up it. And you got to really think about it. This is a red that I really love to climb. It's got a handful of really nice strong moves, but since all the handholds are really nice and easy to grab, it's totally doable for someone trying to break into that category. Back down to some V2s. This is a good climb. I like to save it for the end of my climbs because it's pretty straightforward. And when you are climbing it fatigued, that there's some holds on there that can prove to be a bit tricky. And then save the slab for last. Nice and vertical, technical. Requires some foot confidence, which is always good. And you got to keep your hips into the wall with this one on that last move. So another nice climb. And that was climbing at Summit Gyms in Dallas, Texas. The first half was Plano, second half was Forest Lane. And those were greens, which are V2s at the climbing gym. Whites at the beginning, then yellow, then green. So thank you for following along. I hope you learned something. I know I learned something when I watch myself climb and watch others climb. It's nice to see mistakes and learn from them. So I hope we all learned something today, and I will see you soon. Thanks for following along.